All right, welcome back to the third hour of the North Carolina DPI 2021 Summer CTE Conference. I'm Kevin Sparks. As you probably know, I've been the one hosting today as we go through the CPO or the IP42 program. I'm sure that you're probably like me, you're probably happy to be getting close to the end of these recorded sessions. We're in the home stretch. Don't forget immediately following this pre-recorded session to move over to the virtual platform for a live Q&A session with myself, Josh Clark, and Kevin Matthews. So over the first 2 hours, we've discussed LAPSA, the IFPO, the Certified Protection Officer Program, the CPOI program that we've developed. We've discussed the importance of students achieving this certification prior to them seeking a job in the security industry. As we've discussed, at the age of 18, students are not only able to, or they're not able to obtain this certification, but they can also work as an unarmed security officer. And after they reach the age of 18, they're able to apply for certification. I've truly seen the importance of applicants already possessing training certifications like this, like I've told you in the earlier sessions. So when I had an applicant come in and they already possessed these certain training certifications, what did this tell me as a corporate security manager? It told me that this person had committed themselves to learning as much about the security industry as possible. The better educated that they are, the farther they will go in the industry. It also shows their commitment to being a career-oriented person, not simply one who is just looking for a job. As you and I both well know, there is a big difference in that. As we stated, our objectives for this course were to make sure that our students would not only understand the material and be able to test for the certification, but we want them to be career ready when they're ready to go out. We did an overview of the course materials as well as an overview of the curriculum review team. You've seen the lesson plans and the essential questions and the main and supporting standards, just in a brief overview of that. But we're going to take a little bit deeper look at it here in just a few minutes. We've looked at the learning targets, key vocabulary words, pedagogy, and the concepts behind reflective teaching. You should have developed your own semester-long mini projects, and hopefully you've already sent me an email so that we can discuss them during the live Q&A. During this hour, we will spend some time looking at each of the sections of this program. We want you to be familiar with these sections, and we want you to be sure as you're going through them to take any notes that you have, that you may have questions that you want to see answered during the live Q&A. During the Q&A, we will discuss some of the ideas that you came up with. This project proved to be a daunting task and one that consumed a lot of people's time. So we hope that you've been able to gain some insight from this, and we hope that it's something that you'll be able to get into and to understand. So let's dive into each of the sections now to see what is in each one. Again, we're going to go to the LAPSA website, just like we did earlier. We're going to go under who we are. We're going to look at under educational members, under the state of North Carolina, and we're going to click on the IP42. This will allow you to pull up the information. So, in section 1, one thing that I wanted to make sure that you see as you're going through these in each section is a PDF of each chapter of the textbook. any projects that we've already come up with, as well as you'll see two different PowerPoints. One of the PowerPoints is one that we developed that, discusses our student-friendly learning targets and our essential questions, the main standards and the supporting standards. So it will also contain a link to the lesson plan itself. But like we've already talked about, all of this program is flexible. If you see something that's not working, reevaluate it. Feel free to discard it. If you need to move one section before another section, you have that ability to do that. You have the freedom to do that. So the PowerPoints that we developed were developed by us to assist you in the delivery process, as well as you'll see PowerPoints that were developed by Herb Williams, a CPO instructor for the IFPO. You'll see also some additional resources, such as the mini projects or assessment forms that you can utilize to share with your students to assist them with project-based learning or to assist you in delivering the learning content. Along with these mini projects or assessments, we've included grading rubrics that can be used to assist you in grading the projects. But to also inform the students on what you're going to be looking for and how you're going to grade them. You also find in the resources a bank of questions and an answer key associated with a particular unit that can be used for a summative assessment if you choose to use it. In addition to the aforementioned resources, you'll also find the course syllabus, as well as a pacing guide that can be used during this course. We also provide the suggested number of hours of the duration of each unit. You'll find that information in the top right-hand corner of the lesson plan. What semester you choose to teach it is strictly up to you. Again, let me remind you, this course is flexible for delivery. Included in our lesson plans are proficiency scales so that you can assess how your students are learning with the material. Also, you'll find vocabulary sheets, crossword puzzles with answer keys, and word searches with answer keys that we've developed. So in section 1, Foundations of Protective Service Concepts, our main standards are to describe concepts and theories of asset protection and to explain the evolution of asset protection and security. So our essential question is, what are the two founding principles of the security industry? Our student-friendly learning targets are, I can explain risk management, I can define assets, risk avoidance, risk mitigation, and risk transfer. I can identify the PEAL's 9 principles of policing. I can also understand a brief history of class struggles or issues within the security history. In section 1.2, the role of the professional protection officer. Our main standards are standard number 1, the role of the professional protection officer, and standard 2, the protection officer as a leader. And standard 3, career planning for protection professionals. So the essential question is, what are the various roles of a security and protection officer? Our student-friendly learning targets are, I can define the primary job functions of an asset protection officer. I can define the major roles of protection officers. I can identify and discuss critical leadership skills. I can identify personal leadership qualities. I can define security officer qualifications, and I can discuss the Security Protective Services career development process. So take a few minutes and take a look around at all of the information and all the resources that we put here in section 1 and section 1.2. And then we'll come back in about 4 minutes and we'll move on to section number 2. In section 2, effective communications in security and protective services. Our main standards are to explain effective communications in security and protective services, to explain security awareness policies and procedures, and to describe central alarm stations and dispatch operations. The essential question is, what is effective communications? We've certainly talked a lot about that today. There are a lot of student-friendly learning targets in this section. I can define effective communications. I can explain due diligence based on effective communications. I can describe the channels of communications. I can demonstrate the proper use of communication devices. I can explain techniques for reinforcing policy and procedures to increase security awareness. I can describe double loop communications and partnerships. I can explain the double loop learning model. I can identify resources available to security managers. I can describe modern alarm systems. I can explain the core functions of a dispatch center. And I can describe intrusion sensors. And last but not least, I can describe fire alarms and early warning devices. There are also 2 communication projects that are associated with this unit, as you'll see here in just a minute when you start looking into the resources. All right, moving on to section 3. Section 3 covers the primary functions and responsibilities of protection officers and identifying patrol principles. The essential question is, what are the responsibilities of the protection officers? Our student-friendly learning targets are, I can define visitor management systems. I can describe crime mapping. I can demonstrate the use of hand signals, whistles, and other necessary equipment. Attached to this section, in addition to the text and the different PowerPoints, you will also notice that there are 2 assessments that are associated with this unit, an assessment on traffic control and an assessment on crowd control. You can utilize these or you can choose not to utilize these. That's strictly up to you. So take a look at section 3 and we'll come back with section 4. All right, moving on to section 4. Hopefully you've been able to find all the resources that we've talked about so far. And also, if you have any questions, make sure to jot down your notes of the questions that you want to ask when we move into the live Q&A session immediately following this. So section 4 discusses crime prevention and physical security. The main supporting standards are to explain environmental crime control and to explain physical security concepts and applications. Our central question for this unit is, what ways can we deter crime? Our student-friendly learning objectives are, I can describe CPO, crime prevention through environmental design. I can describe access control. And I can describe essential organizational needs. Just like the other sections, and like I previously mentioned, in this section, you'll find not only a CPO checklist that I use currently, as well as a security assessment checklist that I also currently use, that we've provided with this section that can be utilized not only by you to help you deliver the instructional material, but also it can be utilized by the students to assist them as they go out and complete projects, if you choose to use the projects, one of the too many projects that we've come up with. So take a couple of minutes, look around here at section 4, see what you see, and then we'll be moving on to section 5. All right. Section 5. Section 5 deals with safety and fire protection. It's important for security officers to understand safety and fire protection. I know at some sites, security officers are asked to check boiler rooms and boiler temperatures and things like that. So it's important, really important, that they understand this. So the main supporting standards are fire prevention, detection and response, occupational safety and health, and the protection officer, and an all hazards approach to hazardous materials. The essential question is, why should a security professional understand safety and fire protection? Our student-friendly learning objectives are: I can assist in developing and implementing a useful fire plan. I can identify and explain the fire triangle. I can understand and discuss corporate safety responsibilities. I can recognize and discuss the OSHA 10 certification course. I can correctly understand EPA hazardous materials terminology. I can identify DOT hazardous materials responsibilities. So take a couple of minutes, look around here in section 5 and see the different things that we've added here to assist you with your instructional delivery. Moving into section 6. We're over halfway there, folks. We're headed towards the home stretch. So bear with me here. The book actually has 12 sections, but we condensed it down to 10. We put some sections together because, like I said, the program is flexible. So we were able to condense it down just a little bit to make it a little bit easier on you. So section 6 is about deviance, crime, and violence, which is also what our main standard is. Our essential questions are: how does employee dishonesty affect the business he or she works for? How can security professionals help to prevent workplace crime? How does substance abuse affect business and industry? And how does effective communication help in crisis intervention? Our student-friendly learning targets are: I can explain workplace crime and deviance. I can explain substance abuse. I can describe workplace violence. I can explain crisis intervention. I can describe strikes, lockouts, and labor relations. You'll notice as you look through the resources that we've put into this section that there's a couple of videos that you might choose to use during this class, along with worksheets that you can have the students complete while they're watching the videos. One of those is the Run, Hide, Fight video. So take a look around and look at the different resources that we have available for you here in section 6. Be sure to write down any questions that you might have. All right, moving on to section 7. Section 7 deals with risk and threat assessments. We've talked over the previous 2 sessions about risk and threat assessments. The main supporting standards are to describe security and risk management and to explain emergency planning. Our central question is, how do we protect against terrorist attacks? Our student-friendly learning targets are: I can describe terrorist recruitment methods. I can describe different types of terrorist attacks. And I can describe different types of emergencies. So take a few minutes, look around. One suggestion that I have for you is maybe, have the students do research on a terrorist attack that has occurred. I like to give my students 9/11 for an example, because most of them are not alive when 9/11 occurred. As you know, we're approaching the 20th anniversary. So I want them to understand how we got to the point that we're at when dealing with terrorism and terrorist related attacks. When it comes to emergencies, I like to use Hurricane Katrina as a type of an emergency, or one of the emergency events that I have them research, because again, most of them are just being, most of our students are just being born around that time, or some of them may not have been born yet. So it gives them an understanding of the magnitude of Katrina or 9/11 or Hurricane Sandy. So take a look here at section 7, and then we'll move on to section 8. All right, moving to section 8. Section 8 focuses on investigations. Our main standards are to explain concepts and practices for security professionals, describe crime and incident procedures. Our essential question is, how do we conduct investigations? Our student-friendly learning targets are: describe the investigation procedures. I can describe different intelligence gathering methods. I can describe the importance of report writing and documentation methods used. Now, you probably use some of this in IP41, so this would be just, some of the same material that you use in IP41 as far as any kind of assessments that you use in IP41, you can utilize here as well. Take a couple of minutes, look around here at section 8. We'll move on to section 9, and then we'll wrap it up with section 10. We're in the home stretch, folks. Hang tight. All right. Section 9 covers investigative concepts and practices for security professionals, crime and incident scene procedures, interviewing and statements, foundations for surveillance, and report writing. Again, I'm sure you probably use a lot of this in IP41. So some of this will be stuff that you're already familiar with and should be easy for you to relate to the students. So take a quick minute, take a look around, see what you see in section 9, and we're going to wrap this thing up with section 10 and then move on to the live Q&A. All right. Section 10, pretty large section. Like I said, the book has it stretched out over 12. We condensed it down to 10. Section 10 deals with legal aspects of security, officer safety and use of force, defensive tactics, and officer safety, industrial hazards, safety, and the security patrol officer, and apprehension and detention procedures. In addition to these topics, add in human relations in a global environment, public relations, community relations, networking and the liaison function, as well as ethics and professionalism. Again, probably topics that you already cover in IP41, but again, they're important for us to stress here in IP42 as well. So take a couple of minutes, take a look around, and we'll be back to wrap this up and move over to the live Q&A platform. We made it to the end here, folks, of the recorded sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for these three pre-recorded sessions. And I hope that you'll move over here to the virtual platform here in just a few minutes for the live Q&A session that we're going to do. I want to thank you for your patience. This project, as I said, was a huge undertaking for not only for myself, but for Dr. Washburn and Josh Clark and Kevin Matthews. I certainly couldn't have done it without any of the three. I was fortunate enough to have Dr. Washburn on here in session 2 with me earlier to assist. Like I said, this was not without its own trials. I had some technical issues that we had to work through. I was trying to record it to put on a YouTube channel for you to view, but I had technical issues that couldn't be resolved. So Dr. Washburn stepped in and took time out of his busy day to help me with this Zoom recording. So I hope that y'all have, enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. I hope that you have written down any questions that you may have, and you'll join us over in the live Q&A, where we'll review the many projects that you submitted to me by email, and also any questions that you have that you may want to have answered. So again, thanks for joining us for these pre-recorded sessions, and I look forward to seeing you in just a couple of minutes in the live Q&A. Have a great day, everybody.